Hello, everybody. Good to be live. The full raw surveillance video of the Uvalde school mass shooting has been released, and the truth is pretty freaking despicable. Made me want to cry watching this. And yes, the video is disturbing. There's these disturbing labels on the video, but the most disturbing part is not what I thought it would be. I thought it would be, well, I'll just show you a clip here.
Get in your room! Get in your room!
This is horrifying video, and I'm going to show you more of it. And then Maj Toure is coming on my show to discuss his scathing reaction, but they blur out any sight of a child. They bleep out any sound of a child's voice because, yes, there was a ton of child screaming. Horrible. And that's all horrifying. But the most disturbing part of it was the absolute cowardice of the police that was absolutely on display when you look at this video raw. And we're going to talk about what on earth, what sort of culture led to such absolute cowardice, because before I saw the raw video, I said, maybe there's things we don't know in regards to what the police were dealing with. But no, police walked in to the sound of gunfire and did nothing as they listened to children being slaughtered. This is horrifying. I'm going to show you this video. Before I get into it, got to shout out the sponsor of my coverage. If aging wasn't hard enough already, a new study reveals the older you look, the harder it'll be for you in the dating market. This is why I highly recommend this amazing new face product. This face serum is best at reducing dark spots, sagging skin, and crow's feet. Users report seeing smoother, firmer, younger looking skin in days. The best thing about it is that it comes with free shipping, free VIP, live health and fitness coaching for life, and a free e-report titled The Top 10 Anti-Aging Superfoods. Get it today by going to glowwithivory.com for 38% off, plus free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All right, I've got to commend the Austin American-Statesman for breaking this exclusive. Viewers don't trust the media anymore. To gain the media's trust, the media needs to release what they've seen. Media members saw the raw footage, and now they are releasing it. Austin American-Statesman decided, we're going to release the full footage. They made a 4-minute cut of the full footage, and then they also released the full hour-plus footage as well. This 4-minute cut is pretty key. Take a look.
I can't see him. I cannot see him. The kids are running. Oh my God. Get in your room. Get in your room.
Terrified of a teenage weirdo who went on to slaughter, murder innocent children. All those cops, absolute cowards. I was so horrified because at first I thought, maybe they didn't know, maybe they thought this was a hostage situation where, I've covered many hostage situations. Police are very used to these hostage situations where you negotiate over a loudspeaker and hope that the guy doesn't fire his gun. But they walked into the gunfire and did nothing. And they knew those were classrooms. The shooter had occupied 2 classrooms that were connected. Children were screaming. Yeah, so here's the full footage. Austin American-Statesman released 122 minutes. And it took the officers 77 minutes to finally fire their guns. Apparently, it was federal agents at Border Patrol that finally fired their guns. Local police were cowards. I don't care if you had orders to stand down, which I don't buy that at all. I do not buy that they had orders to stand down. So in Austin American-Statesman took some heat. I guess some of the families were angry that they put this on display, but it was important to release this and let people see the truth. So again, here it is. This is officers entering right here. And by the way, this is linked down in my description if you want to watch the whole thing. So officers, they enter to the gunfire. They're hearing the gunfire immediately. They know what's happening. They should have barged in right then. You know how many kids would have been saved? Look at that. Have those officers, but they don't even touch the door. They don't even touch the door. In fact, previous reports said that those first officers who ran up to it actually got grazed by bullets. And so they moved away and eventually retreated immensely. You know how many lives would have been saved had they barged in right then? Despicable. What's your take on it? Well, Maj Toure, founder of Black Guns Matter, has a word to say. He loves honorable police, but he hates cowardly police. And I think it's time everybody wake up and realize that there are good cops and bad cops. I'm tired of the people who are back the blue blindly. I'm also tired of the people who say that all cops are bad. But cowardly cops have to be removed. This is insane. Anyway, let's listen to Maj Toure. Maj Toure was on his way to the airport, and I caught him in an interview just before. I wanted to interview him live, but he's literally on the plane right now. So I have my interview with him right here. Maj Toure, founder of Black Guns Matter. You have seen the raw footage now of the Uvalde mass shooting. What's your reaction to it?
My first reaction is condolences to the family members. I try my best to not get, even though things look very strange in that shooting, I try my best to not be disrespectful with a theory, and I'm picking my words carefully to not say conspiracy theory, but there was death there. So it's, for all intents and purposes, there was death. And my first thought is condolences. And I know it may not be as much. People don't care about thoughts and prayers. They'd rather have their family members back. So that's my first thought there. My second thought is all of the officers on scene, especially the ones in the hallway in the building, are cowards, or like legit cowards. You had all of the tools. When there is a active shooter scenario and there are hostages, we hunt the bad guy. That's the job. And those guys are cowards. And I don't know if it was men and women, but whoever was there, especially in that hallway, were complete cowards. They should be fired. They should be sued. We know they will not be, because law enforcement has no legal obligation to protect us. And I think that there was so many things that was incorrect with that scenario. You know, the argument of, well, they were told to stand down. That's not a scenario that I'm standing down in. And so those are the thoughts, to not use profanity. I enjoy using profanity, but I know this is going to go on YouTube. But I think these guys were pretty much cowards all the way around.
I was so horrified watching this raw footage. Because, you know, when you hear about potentially police could have done more, and you're like, well, maybe we don't know the whole story. Maybe the officers weren't aware that the gunman was shooting people. But no, this footage shows that those officers were in there 3 minutes after him, and they were listening to his gunshots immediately, and they still did nothing for over an hour while listening to children get murdered. I am so horrified.
There is no justification. If you're one of the guys that'll say something like, well, you know, cops have a rough job, and you know, they don't want to get, you know, reprimanded, they're concerned about their pension. On certain things, I can understand that. Going hands-on somebody that is just hella annoying but poses no threat, I'm with that. Hey, this guy's crazy. We're gonna call for the social workers that you liberal cities say that you want. I can even understand that. I can understand that in that space. Not in this space. Not in, even if you got an order, you know, this flies in the face of all, you know, like, and not to trivialize it at all, but every hero movie, or every time there's a time for someone to be a hero, this fits the bill. And if that means I have to get fired or some other thing because I'm attempting to save life, then that's the case. But what we just saw was a bunch of cowardice. And this is a part of the reason why there's so many people that have so much disrespect for law enforcement. The job is not the noble profession that it used to be. And this is me saying this as a person that has friends and family members that are members of law enforcement. The job is not chasing actual bad guys. The job is now revenue generation for the state. And it's not honorable. Generally, it's not honorable. And when you have these moments where it's time to actually step up and be honorable, you get cowardice like this. And anyone, including so-called conservatives, famous or not, there's a bunch of bootlickers running around trying to justify this. There is no justification. There is no justification. I would gladly lose my job in a heartbeat to make sure that I attempted to do the right thing. And I think that we are being disrespectful to the men and women that put that uniform on, first responders in general that put that uniform on, specifically to chase robbers, rapists, and unjustified killers. I think that we're doing a disservice to making this profession be honorable. Over the last 2 years, we saw law enforcement officers in the most disrespectful way, arrest children. They arrested children for not wanting to wear a mask in an art museum in New York. We saw police officers arrest clergymen for wanting to worship outside in parking lots 6 feet away, just because the state said, hey, you guys can't worship. We saw this. I've been kicked off of airplanes. Again, I'm parked right in front of the airport right now. I'm on my way to Vegas for Freedom Fest. I've been kicked off of airplanes during this last 2 years. We've seen the overreach, and we've seen law enforcement violate their oath to the Constitution and their Bill of Rights. And we have to be honest about it. If we really want to be respectful to the craft of protecting the community, and if we really want to restore community police law enforcement relations, law enforcement has to be able to call out their own. I'm seeing a lot of guys, not all, but a lot of guys be very mum's the word about this. They're not saying that. They may say something brief, but the reality is there are departments all across this nation that would allow that same type of cowardice. This isn't the first time. We saw it in down in the cowards of Broward County. We saw it before. They sat around and did nothing. They have no legal obligation. The concept should be, we should be only asking law enforcement officers, the job description should be, you are chasing robbers, rapists, and unjustified killers. Then you'd have guys and women taking the job because they really about that action and really want to go catch bad guys. Hell, I'd sign up for that job. If we're catching just bad guys, actual crime, let's go catch some rapists. Let's go beat the shit out of actual robbers. Let's tighten them up. Let's improve the gene pool. Let's get these guys to their destination in jail. Let's let them have their day in court. But let's be very aggressive with these guys that do actual crime. Not choking somebody to death for selling loosies in front of a location because selling loosies impacts the state's ability to tax. And this is where we have to be honest about the fall of this potentially noble profession and stop pretending. Because if we only pretend, because we so-called back the blues so much blindly that, we can't call a spade, then when they start coming for firearms, now you're in a rock and a hard place. Now you're in a space where you have to say, oh, well, maybe these guys won't. There should be no maybe. Any law enforcement officer that's taking a firearm off of a person that has not committed a violent act is in violation of their constitutional oath. The Second Amendment is very clear, and we have to maintain that standard. And law enforcement officers, some of these guys, I hear them in private, they tell me that, yeah, that was messed up. But why don't you say it in public? That's like people that say, oh, I do. They might do stupid things with their money and all of that. But then I say, yo, bro, what are you doing for the community? You don't have to, but what are you doing for the community? Oh, I do my community service quietly. Why? The good stuff needs to be highlighted. Why? That's wrong. That's absolutely backwards. So, again, I am going to consistently be critical of contradictions. I'm always going to expose the contradiction to the maximum degree. I shoot, I train, I go to the gym. I'm in great shape. I am willing to step up if life is threatened, and I'm a citizen. So if I'm willing to do that, and a lot of the Second Amendment and guys and women that train across the nation, firefighters jump into those type of, they literally, their job is to run into a potential burning building. Could they potentially be hit with civil issues? Absolutely, firemen could, but they go protect life. And if you're not built for that, if you're not about that action, stay home, raise the babies, be a family man, and stop saying, oh, I got to make it home to my family. Just don't do the job. You're not cut out for it. You're not built for it. And we don't want you there. We don't want you in our communities.
I agree with you. And I'm just wondering I know you have to get into the airport, but what is causing this culture of cowardice in police departments? I'm wondering if it's been the incessant negative anti-police news over the past decade that criticizes police every time they use their weapon, or what is it? What's your take?
There is a consistent attack on masculinity, removing fathers from the home. These young men that want to join the force aren't doing it because a lot of these dudes never even been in a fight. there is a consistent attack on masculinity. And I don't care if the brass says, hey, stand down from protecting that person that's raping that woman. I'll lose the job. The lack of masculinity, the lack of strength is what allows a so-called protector, so-called lion, supposed to protect the people, that would even accept that as okay. So it's not just, it's not just, oh, there's pushback. Part of the reason why you're getting pushback from the community is because you're not there to actually do the job of protecting and serving. Many law enforcement officers get that job because they want the bennies, they want the pension, they want the attention and the salutes that go along with it, but you don't even know how to do community policing. So you're in a community, you're writing tickets, you're not helping, you have a slow response time, you're patting people down, you're violating Fourth Amendment rights, you're over policing certain communities. There's no songs called Fuck the Firemen. Firemen come and they destroy your house when there's a fire. They're not very nice in your house. They have to put they will chop the roof out, they will break windows. So in some instances, I've had a fire and it's like, damn, y'all had to do all that. But there's still not a general, because fires are insane. And they're showing up to put out a threat to life that most people don't have the skill set to put out fire. Even though they destroy property, and I'm pretty sure people have insurance and all of that, they're not riding around manufacturing crime. They're not riding around looking for somebody that has the weed, that's selling it to people that has the money. That's called commerce. You violated communities for however long, Americans for however long, and you expect the people to be happy about your violations? The only people that are happy about that, drugs are bad. The founding fathers had hemp farms. Shut up, bro. Like, that's just not true. Like this Nixon era war on drugs, violate the Fourth Amendment, go no-knock warrant, kick in the door, murder American citizens with no due process. The people are tired of it. So there's a part of that. And you know what happens? Because we on the so-called right don't call it and say this should be a noble profession that's about liberty. Because we don't call it out, the lefties make that their talking point. And then in democratically controlled cities, the people that are being controlled and patrolled by law enforcement that are not there to catch actual crime, because actual crime has to have actual victims. I'm doing 10 miles over the speed limit, bro. That there's nothing wrong with now, don't get me wrong. If you're doing 55 and a 25 and I want you to go to jail if you hit somebody. However, if you're in a speed trap at 3 o'clock in the morning when no one's outside and I do 10 miles over the limit and you write me a ticket, or you write me a ticket and say your tail light's out. If I'm going through a commercial or a residential neighborhood, your tail light's out. Either I didn't know that my tail light was out, or I don't have the money to fix my tail light. So if I don't have the money to fix my tail light, you giving me a ticket, and I'm still driving home with the same busted tail light. This is revenue generation for the state, and because we on the right have been super thin blue line, and we've been afraid to call the contradiction, lefties move into those communities that have been controlled and patrolled by that law enforcement or those policies, and they make it easier. Then the lefties turn it up a notch. Then the lefties not only are they liars because they say defund the police, then they double down and give police a bunch of the COVID money. That's what Lightfoot did in Chicago. So there's this never ending until people on the so-called right or right or center or liberty-minded folks, whether you're Republican, conservative, libertarian, independent, until we start saying what's wrong, and until we start saying that's a bad shoot, that's a violation of American citizens' rights, right? Until we allow the leftists to hijack the narrative because we're not doing anything, and then the cancer, the anti-police cancer spreads. But that started spreading because we allowed police work to turn into the militarization of our communities, the over-policing of our communities, and highlighting, high-fiving jobs that have nothing to do with making Americans safer, all while there not being a standard of law enforcement having an obligation to actually do the job of protecting and serving. They don't have to. They're there. You keep giving them money. They're doing urban pacification at this point. What reason would an urban citizen have to champion or want to build a relationship with law enforcement? They have no reason. And that's why we are where we are now.
Shame on the cowardice cops, but we salute the brave cops that are out there.
Absolutely. And I want to say this to you officers that are putting that uniform on, putting that shield on, chasing scumbags, legit scumbags. I salute you. You officers, you homicide detectives that are looking for cold cases that's 10 years old of my son or daughter was murdered. You guys that are going back in the files to turn those cases from red to green. You guys that are trying to get that clearance rate of homicides in these horribly impacted cities by negativity and lack of Second Amendment rights and things like that. I salute you. You first responders that are not cowards, that when there's a ambulatory issue, that when there's somebody choking on, I don't know, need the Heimlich maneuver, you average citizens that are responding to actual threats to life, we salute you. But what we cannot allow to happen is to let these cowards hide behind your honor. They do not deserve your honor. They deserve your ridicule. They do not deserve to be on the force with you. They make your job harder. They make it more difficult for law enforcement citizen interactions. And I want to give you the heartiest of salutes for staying the fight, trying to fight career ladder climbers that aren't involved in community policing and catching bad guys, but just want to make a political career out of it. We want to salute you, men and women, because this ain't a anti-cop conversation. This is some people don't deserve the job, the badge, or the gun. And the men and women that do deserve it and are actually chasing actual crime, we salute you all day long at Black Guns Matter.
Totally agree. Thank you so much for your time, Maj Toure.
Yeah.
That's his Instagram, by the way. Instagram keeps deleting him, but you got a new one. Big Daddy Toure. Go follow Maj. Have fun at Freedom Fest.
I will. I'll see you soon.
All right. See you later.
Peace.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. So Maj, I had to pre-record him right before the show because he was catching that flight. But yeah, he and I agree. These cowardly cops, we can salute those guys. They can't be on the force. You know, what has happened to our society? Thank you for the super chat over here. I appreciate it. Quote, hire veterans and put them in schools. I'm an Iraq war vet, 2 years in Iraq infantry. Put me in that school and I'll stop it in minutes or die. I've had worse in the sand. That's a good idea. There should be some sort of bravery, courage test when you're selecting police officers. I don't know. What do you guys think is the cause of the cowardice that we saw on display? It's just so horrifying. I don't know. Maybe it's a small town. Uvalde, Texas is a very small town. I'm sure those officers don't get a lot of action. And maybe, this was a far scarier scenario than they ever thought they'd have to deal with. But regardless, I mean, you've got to prepare for the worst. If you're going into that line of work for the right reasons, then you should be ready for that. So that was just a horrifying video to see. I think it's important to face the truth on this. I salute the Austin American-Statesman newspaper for exclusively releasing that video. I think we need to be more transparent with the public as the media. If you have raw video like that, let it out to the public. The fact that they're the only news outlet that released that video. It's about freaking time. And I've been in the media. I've been in the corporate news. I was in the corporate news for 9 years. And it was always like, oh, well, we can't let the public see this. That'll be too much for them. We can't let the public see that. And you're not transparent with the public. The public doesn't believe what you're reporting on. So anyway, I have linked down in my description the full raw 77 minutes of cowardice at the hands of these local police, as well as state police, as well as federal police, all kinds of law enforcement there, armored up, all terrified of a weird teenager as he slaughtered innocent children. Despicable. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Appreciate your support of my channel, and we will be back with much more tomorrow. That's right. Austin statesmen earn my respect. All the public wants is transparency. Maj said it best. They are cowards, period. Yeah, Maj is great. Go follow his Instagram, link down in description. We'll see you guys tomorrow.